Hello everyone, it's the build-up show, the EFL Carabao Rumble every single year. The League Cup is back. Liverpool are taking on Lincoln for the first time since 1961. Thursday will be the game.
Did I go that game?
It'd have been 11, so maybe.
What?
Yeah, there you go. No, what have you been? No, it doesn't. Either what?
Was that born in 1950?
No, I was born in 1951, actually, so yeah, it'd have been 10. Chris. Hi. Chris Page, Jack Gill joined me for this one. Look, I don't think there's any chance that Liverpool go full strength in this game. I think we've been gearing up for a couple of weeks now. We had the behind closed doors game the other week where we saw some minutes for the likes of Minamino, Shaqiri, etc.
I didn't see him.
This will be a time for Liverpool to use the squad, and there'll be a combination here of lads who will play, I think, will be playing every week for us in one of the two games a week. And then then there'll be a fringe of, let's use Harvey Elliott as an example of this, of maybe a couple of young lads who probably won't play very often for us. They will still predominantly play under 20s, 33s football. But the balance we've got for the first time, and different to last season, is these young lads are now Nico Williams and Curtis Jones, who are also senior first team footballers for us.
It's brilliant, to be honest. I think it's a big test for both Nico and Curtis in not the same way that it would have been a test a year and a half ago for them. Because I think now they've had that taste of Premier League football. It would be very easy to get a bit disheartened with playing Lincoln. So it's a test mentally for how they prepare for this game and go out and prove that, look, the League One opposition, Curtis Jones and Nico Williams should be much better than every one of their lads. Go out there and prove it. And what you'll do, and you know this with Jurgen Klopp, is if those lads are given the opportunity to start, that will count towards how many minutes they get in the Premier League, how their performance is. And if they slack off and he sees any mental sort of slacking off, then they won't get as many opportunities. So there's a really good reason for them to go out and perform.
The mental slacking off thing, I think, is important. I don't think it's necessarily the disheartening thing, but I think it's definitely more the Curtis Jones and Nico Williams. We go, well, I'm a first team footballer. It's only Lincoln. You want to see from them, and I don't suspect we'll have problems in that regard, but it is a test nevertheless. It's just something they're going to have to overcome and prove it by doing it on the pitch, is that there's no taking lightly of this opposition, because Liverpool, if you're a senior player,
don't take anyone lightly.
Exactly, yeah. Completely.
And that's what they've got to go out there and prove, and if you want to play in Liverpool's first team, you've got to prove that to Jurgen.
Absolutely, and Jack, look, I'm excited from that regard, because it is that we are going to see a couple of those lads. There's going to be fewer. I mean, this time last year, it was Queven Kelleher, it was Keanu Hoover, it was Curtis Jones, it was Harvey Elliott, it was Ryan Brewster starting these games, and largely it was the first time we got to see a lot of these lads. Even if they got used again, and obviously not Keanu Hoover, but it wouldn't be quite so much. These are just more established lads. If we saw it, we might see a Cometio, we might see Seth Vandenberg, but as I say, this is a chance to prove that we've got really good squad depth here.
Yeah, it's really interesting as well, because you can look at this game in two ways. You can use it to play players like Origi, Shaqiri, Harry Wilson, perhaps on the way out, and use it as an opportunity to raise their price tag a bit more, or put them in the shop window. What I'd like to see is these youngsters thrown in again, because I think our Carabao Cup run last year was so good, where we saw us obviously in that thriller against Arsenal, and then it ended up in the quarter-final against Villa, where we were completely thrown into the bus against all the footballing authorities. I think we could have gone further in that competition, and maybe could have gone on all the way to the final. But I think the whole reason we went so far in that competition is we had hungry young players, and they really wanted to win. Whereas if you play players that are on the way out, then perhaps they won't play for the bag.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout. I mean, let's use Harry Wilson as an example. Look, I think you'll know by now, Chris, that his future is not at Liverpool, and that's an issue. Is that, yes, there's the shop window, and you can get that kind of response out of players, but also, we saw it with some of the players refusing to come back. Not Liverpool players, but players in general coming back after restart because they don't want to jeopardise moves. So Liverpool not use Adam Lallana after restart because they didn't want to damage his potential move afterwards, and that's a psychological impact the club, I think, will look to take out of the equation. You'd rather have lads, as you were kind of intimating before, who feel like, I put a good performance in here and I might make the bench for the Arsenal game, or I'll play the next round. For the main team.
Absolutely, and I think not only that, but you want them fit. So when they take their opportunities, so you want Kurt Jones, you want Nico Williams to take 90 minutes in this game and go out there because of the pre-season or the lack thereof, really, that we played the first teamers throughout pre-season. So they just need to get up to fitness. And if the games are coming thick and fast, if it, we play that third round, then Arsenal, and then maybe a fourth round against Arsenal or Leicester, then they're going to be able to keep their fitness levels up and high. And that means that they're going to be in better contention for the Premier League games.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. So 2 years ago when we played Wolves in the FA Cup, that game was very, very flat. The same with Shrewsbury in the FA Cup last year, the first one away from home. Very flat again when we had a lot of first-team players in the spine. I think when we do well in the Cup is when we do rotate a lot and we do have players that don't necessarily get a lot of first-team minutes and really want to impress Klopp and make it into his plans for the future.
I think there's a narrative that spun out the last season, Jack, that like Klopp it doesn't really care about the domestic cups. I know. I think it's in some regards it's kind of hard to argue, but I don't think last season is the necessary. Even though it was the one where we disrespected it more than anyone's ever done, because Critchley took charge of 2 cup games for us in 2 different competitions last year. I think it was circumstantial. I don't think it's necessarily I don't think there's causality. I don't think it's necessarily proof of anything. I think that we've it's telling that we went through. We went through the FA Cup. I know we had to go to a replay against Swansea. We ended up playing the kids when we'd gone away on the winter break. But we put a decent side out against Chelsea. We put mismatched teams, but still with senior players out in the rounds leading up to the Aston Villa game, where we, as you mentioned before, were completely hamstrung by the rules of the Club World Cup. I think Liverpool will make a better fist of this than I think some people feel. It's not the Klopp won't choose to send a team of 18-year-olds to play this game. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I don't think he disrespects the competition at all. I think he just has priorities, as anyone would. And he came to this football club to win us the Champions League and the Premier League, and he's done that. And now he wants to deliver a lot of trophies. He wants us to win it all. So I think this year now he will pick a team that he knows will beat Lincoln, and he will pick a bench that he knows that if it's not going well, then they'll have capabilities on the bench to turn the game around.
You're not sorry, Paul. Okay. You're not in any way is Klopp in any way, shape or form close to losing his job or anything, but you don't lose your job for getting knocked out of the EFL Cup or the FA Cup nowadays. Yeah. You lose your job by not performing in the league or the Champions League at the top clubs. And in the exact inverse of that, you only really get credit for winning the league and the European Cup. If you'd had one of those on the top, it's a bonus. Yeah. But let's be honest, no one's looking at Guardiola last season thinking they had a world-class season because they won the Carabao.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you look at United or Tottenham, if they lost a third round tie against Lincoln, everyone would be in uproar. It would be a lot of talking about their clubs and whatnot, and the manager. With Liverpool, I think, if we lost to Lincoln on Thursday, everyone would be like, okay.
He didn't care. Okay. Maybe he should respect it. Hang on a minute, there's another game at the weekend. Yeah. We'll forget about that forever. Man United get knocked out with a first team squad playing, but that's the talk because they're not doing so well in the league.
Yeah. There's a lot of teams going to be going big for this cup this season, I think, Chris. I think because of the quality in the league, the top 4 is never going to be proven harder. I think there's teams that haven't been asked about it in previous years. I think will go hard. I mean, most of it's largely teams with top 4 aspirations who end up in the final, at least, with occasional exceptions like Southampton making finals every now and again. But I think Carlo Ancelotti will make a move for this. I think Frank Lampard will make a move for this. I think Brendan Rodgers will make a move for this. I think possibly I've completely forgotten his name, but Wolves I think will make a move. Nuno Espirito Santo will make a move for this as well. So the question is, are Liverpool going to be one of those teams that do the same? I don't think the pressure's on us to win it like it is for those teams. But I also, it's 2 games now, and then you've got to break till December. It's a one-legged semi-final, like it wasn't normally, which is Klopp's biggest bugbear over it. The route to the final is a lot short, is more truncated than it's ever been. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think you can see now that the way in which Liverpool have strengthened their squad, that we're in a position to go for it. I think, centre halves can pretty much play. They can probably play 3 games a week. Now, the fitness people may disagree with me on that, but the fact that Virgil van Dijk literally almost plays every minute of every game in the Premier League plus Champions League last season and has done for 2 years, give or take, that shows me that they're all right. So in the area there, we're all right if we want to. The fullbacks have now been changed. Trent and Robbo need resting during the season. You've got Chimikas and Nico now. Yeah. They can literally come in for all of these games, and there's a drop-off, of course, but hopefully it's not going to be so much of a drop-off that it negatively impacts results. Yeah. The midfield, we've already got 7 or 8 world-class midfielders now. And then the forward line, with the likes of Harvey, whether Brewster stays, Origi, Jota, Minamino, you've got six lads there, so you can literally change them. So I think the squad's big enough to challenge. Whether it's the Carling Cup or... Fucking hell, there's another one for you. Whether it's the Carling Cup or the FA Cup, I'd rather see us do it in the FA Cup because it's a better competition. But I think we've got a strong enough squad to challenge now. And I think Jürgen's confident enough that we're good enough in the league that we're not risking the league for one of these cups.
I think this competition is one where you literally, as I said before, you play your games to beat the opposition you have in front of you, and then you get to the semi-final and you're like, shit, we're here. Let's take this seriously now. And that's what I think...
the Arsenal way to the final.
Absolutely. That's what I think we'll do. It'll almost be... get through this game against Lincoln, put a side out that Klopp sees that can beat them, play Arsenal or Leicester. That's going to be a tough game, so we'll probably see a stronger side against whoever we get in that next game. And then, as you say, there's not one then till December.
Played Arsenal last season, didn't put a stronger side.
Well, with Arsenal, you could beat them with it. Anything could happen, really.
Yeah, I mean, they are a different proposition. Yeah. I think the strength of these cup teams is just going to depend upon the fitness of players that are available. Right now, we're laughing. You said there, Chris. There's like 3/4 of a team already of lads who are good enough to play for our first team who actually haven't played because there's only 2 games into the season. They need a bit of fitness. They need the game time just to get themselves up to speed. It isn't like let's experiment with some kids for a laugh, or let's put some really fringe lads in because we need to make the numbers up. There's going to be lads on the bench who are disappointed to be on the bench in this game, and it's a game where we could probably change all 11 players for this game and still probably be 1 or 2 thinking, I just missed out on that. There's a chance that one of Cometio or Sepp Vandenberg won't be involved at all, and yet Liverpool are short on centre halves. So it's that's what I think is really interesting. And again, how seriously Liverpool take this. I think right now they can afford to put quite a strong side out. If they get, obviously you've got to get through this, of course. I don't want to kind of blow past Lincoln too soon before it's done. But those next 2 games are exercises in getting the squad up to speed as much as anything else. So you don't need to gamble too much. You can go relatively strong. Whereas we've seen in previous years, you've got no... Kiara Hoover comes in because we've got no choice against Wolves in the FA Cup back there. Lovren plays. Lovren and Milner are in that game, and Lovren gets injured. So we've got no choice but to throw Kiara Hoover because there's no one else who can come in at that point. That's the only situation where I think we don't go for it. I'm not saying we're putting our strongest team out, but it's then a question of how strong is our backup team, and our backup team is only going to be as strong as the injuries to our first team. I think because this team, this side, this club thrives in the heat of battle. It thrives under 2 games a week, and I think it benefits us weirdly to kind of keep that momentum going.
I think it benefits all of the top 6 clubs, to be honest with you. The truncated season it hurts everybody below 7th or 8th because the squads aren't quite big enough. Liverpool are used to playing these type of high intensity games, and whether this will be high intensity, I'm not 100% sure. This side will be as weak as the centre back issues. I think everywhere else is solid. Yeah. As I can see it, you know what I mean?
Weakened only by maybe a lack of understanding between the players on the pitch is maybe an issue.
Yeah, maybe. But like the lads I've got written down in front of me here, I'm like, this is a good side, a very good side I've got lined up.
Well, we'll have a little look into that in a moment. But before we do, there's some brand new Redmen merchandise available right now. Have a little look at this. Yeah, you can get involved with Redmen merch. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a little shelf underneath the video. Just scroll down, have a little peruse some boss stuff there, or you can go through the redmentv.com, click the shop tab and get there as well. There'll be a link in the description if you want it as well. If you're just lazy and want to go through that, that's fine. It's fine. It's the internet age. Be as lazy and direct as you wish. Just buy some merch. So on the team, Chris, you kind of alluded to it pre-break about the lads who've got available. I just want to go back and just talk about our starting lineup against MK Dons. So this time last year, we got a favourable draw in the competition as well. And we went with Caoimhin Kelleher in goal. The back four was Dejan Lovren, Joe Gomez, Keanu Hoover and James Milner. Midfield three, Naby Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Adam Lallana. And then the front three was Curtis Jones, Ryan Brewster, Harvey Elliott.
Poor MK Dons.
I know, but it was telling that James Milner was standout for being the senior player in that. I mean, Chris, let's talk through what you've kind of got.
Time around.
Well, yeah, more so. But I don't think, obviously Lovren's in there as well. So we do, and Keita, Ox. There's some senior lads in there, but I think we'll have, when you look at that is a young side. I know like Curtis still counts and all that, but I just feel like our 11's going to be. It's going to be a bit stronger than that this time around.
I think so. I think you've got a choice, haven't you? Do you want a goalkeeper who's played in the Champions League final, or do you want a goalkeeper who's won a Super Cup in nets for you? Hopefully it'll be the Super Cup one, to be perfectly honest with you. But then you've got big lads. You've got the new signing in Chimikas. He's got to start for me. I mean, maybe first name on the team sheet, to be honest with you. You're going to have James Milner in there. Question marks for me are over Thiago and Keita. Yeah. I think if Thiago starts, Milner plays further forward. I don't know if that's true, but where he came into the game the other night. But if he doesn't, Milner comes in and maybe one of the other lads plays alongside Jones, like a Naby Keita. Obviously, Ox is out, so that's unfortunate for him. And then up front, I mean, Minamino, Jota, Brewster if he's still at the football club, Elliott. I mean, there's strong options to choose from, and I've not even mentioned the front three.
Well, that's it. It's an interesting one because we did the Reds transfer roundup show last week on the website, and we were kind of looking ahead to this, so like what would a completely all changed Liverpool 11 look like? And obviously at the time, we were having a conversation between it was Brewster or Origi to start centre forward. Now the rumblings are Origi might move on, the rumblings are still there that Brewster might move on, and whether that harks back to our conversation earlier on in the show. But you could theoretically, Jack, you could start Diogo Jota, you could start Minamino centre forward, and you could start Harvey Elliott on the right, and you've taken those guys out of the equation, and that's not even mentioning the fact that Xherdan Shaqiri might be available. He just might. It's a possibility. It's unlikely, but it's a possibility.
I think he tells you on the day, doesn't he?
Yeah. Just decides what his hair's looking good enough to go in front of camera. But this is the point: is that Origi and Brewster could well be in the plans and could well start this. But this is again the depth. You could take them if provided Shaqiri's available. Like you could actually not even have them involved, and you still got an extra man spare for the front three.
It's actually mad talking about how many rotational options we have now, because you're talking this time last year, even this time a few weeks ago, we didn't have all these options. We were worried about starting the season. We were short in a few areas. And now we have this abundance of talent in our second string, third string. We just have a boss squad, and it's one of those situations. I've never ever worried about who should Liverpool pick in the second string squad, but now it's like we could have a great team and a great bench without any of our starting 11 on the bench, and I think it's really exciting times for this football club right now.
The question for this is about Harvey Elliott, because I think he's the one where he might end up disappointed that he's on the bench, Chris, because I think this will hinge upon what Klopp's thinking is with Origi and with Brewster and with Shaqiri, because Xherdan Shaqiri is more senior. So if he's fit, he needs the minutes, because if we're keeping him and he's a Liverpool player, he needs to get some football somewhere. So he kind of has to start. What?
Why?
Because he doesn't play football anywhere else for us.
So why do you need to get him fit?
Well, yeah. But what I mean is, if he's fit and available, he's got to have to. If he's available for us, he's going to have to play football for us at some point if you're going to own him. And it's whether. But if Harvey Elliott doesn't start this game, when does Harvey Elliott start a game for Liverpool?
I don't know, mate. I have my doubts whether Shaqiri will be available. So I'd play Elliott in this game, and I'd play him with Minamino and Jota. Look, I'm joking around, of course. Like Shaqiri, if you've got him, there's a reason that we've got him, and he is the more senior professional. But I'd rather see Elliott personally.
I don't know. I don't think Jota will start, personally. I think it is a testament to Thiago's ability yesterday that he got on the pitch. Klopp doesn't usually do that when he signs a player. They don't usually come on that early. He does do it in the League Cup, though. Now, think about Leicester a couple of seasons ago when Oxlade-Chamberlain starts that game, Andy Robertson starts that game at left-back as well. Yeah. Neither of them actually pull trees up in that game.
The FA Cup as well, a bit different.
I suppose as well with Jota, it's a different situation because he's already played Premier League football. He doesn't have to get used to a new country and stuff like that. So we may see him, but I think from a Klopp perspective, you have to start Elliott, and we don't know what he's doing with Shaqiri if he wants to put him on the shop window, like you say. None of us have seen Shaqiri for a long time. Sometimes I forget he even still plays for this football club. So I think it's whether if Shaqiri's fit, he goes, well, he has to play, because even if he's going, people will have probably forgotten Shaqiri. People think, oh, if he doesn't even get into this side, then what's the point in even paying money for him? Do you know what I mean? So I think in this situation, anything could happen and we could play any front three. But I like the look of your one. I do think, though, that we'll be playing 4-2-3-1. And I can see, like we saw in pre-season, Curtis and James Milner playing in that double pivot in the 2, Minamino in front of them in the 10, and then Origi through the middle up front, or even Brewster through the middle up front. I think
you were saying, Chris, the strength of the side will be determined by the strength of the centre-backs. I think the midfield, actually, in some respect, I think you build this team out from the midfield because, and it's what we want to do with Thiago. I think Thiago definitely started this game if he doesn't have to be introduced at half-time at the weekend. But it's look at who's available after this. Jordan Henderson won't, I can't see him being risked in this one given the circumstances. Milner will absolutely start this one because I think that's his job. I think he's the captain of the cup team this season. Curtis will absolutely do it because he needs to get the minutes. And then you're like, well, do you need to? Are you protecting Naby? Are we still being careful with how we use Naby Keita? Are we doing the same with Gini Wijnaldum? If we play a free, is what I'm saying, is someone's going to have to go again. And it's then a decision, do you want someone to go again? And if not, then we kind of have to play 2 in the midfield, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Thiago starts, Milner and Jones play in a midfield 3 with him. Mm-hmm. But if he doesn't, to say Milner starts the 6, and then it's probably Keita and Jones as the midfield, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Look, there's so many options, because it could quite easily be Minamino in the 10 if that's something that we're moving towards. As the season progresses, then maybe it is Minamino, maybe it's Origi. I've got a sneaking suspicion that Origi may be on the move, and so this is either his last game or he's played his last game for Liverpool Football Club. I'd hazard the guess that it might be exactly the same for Brewster, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool have done their business, but it was still sell to buy.
I think we'll know. Again, I think there's a few things that we'll know about this, and it will be informed by who starts this game. Again, if Shaqiri's fit and he's not playing, what's the point of Shaqiri? Same with Origi. Origi actually, he's in the pecking order of stuff. He should be involved in this game. But again, are you getting Jota up to speed? Minamino, again, he's meant to be a first team player. He's got to be in that side. He will be ahead of these lads, and it's not necessarily totally that, because you'll probably find that one of Brewster or Origi will be on the bench just because they kind of have to be. But if they're not, then that's, again, it's pretty clear that neither of them have got a future this season.
I think as well, it might be telling that Brewster's not moved on loan yet to Sheffield United, because Chris Wilder has been saying for a couple of weeks now that it's almost done. So maybe Klopp's waiting for this game to be over.
Well, that was my suspicion about this, is that I felt we were holding on to him in particular, because you've got these 2 games where you can run the rule one more time, or moreover, not be forced to use one of Mane, Firmino or Salah. But now that you've got Jota in, I think that eases that pressure. So I guess I think this will give us quite a clear indication over what's happening, and the fact that I think I'm right in saying that the next game, does it fall after the transfer window shuts? Maybe.
No, I think it's just before.
Is it just before? Yeah. I mean, it's whether we feel we've got enough bodies. Liverpool clearly being canny, aren't they, over who they let go in this. Defensive wise, then, Chris.
And this is where I was saying about I think the centre of the side's determined by the centre-halves, because I think you're as good as your weakest player. And I think the centre-backs really are the 2 issues here. I think you've got the full-backs in your sound. You've got Nico, you've got Chimikas. And then is it Kometio, is it Vandenberg? Are you risking Joe Gomez? Matip's obviously going to be out. Does he play Phillips? But Phillips may be moving on. So those 2 centre-halves, for me, are where the weakness in this Liverpool side is going to be, if there is one. I've got down the Kometio Koumetio definitely gets a start here, and there's one place up for grabs. We were talking off camera, weren't we? I think Van der Berg, you think Phillips is maybe ahead in the pecking order right now because he's a better player. But so for me, there's question marks.
I think the subs bench for the Community Shield told us a bit about that stuff. The fact that Koumetio's on the bench in that one lends you're thinking towards that he's been grooming him for this kind of game. I think the centre-back injury issue might just mean it's a bit more nailed on for someone. I think you need one senior lad to put in there somewhat, so it's either a question of Gomez was touch and go, he probably could have played at the weekend. Do you just want to get him a game? Because at the moment, Jack, I think we're still thinking of this season like it's a proper season. We're still getting every one of our players up to fitness. None of our players are at peak 100% match sharpness yet. So even though it would stand that normally we would drop out of Virgil van Dijk, we actually might not. We might we might ask Virgil to go again. We might ask Gomez to drop in, just so we've got another lad who's Fabinho. Again, another game playing at centre half. Just to get him more used to that role is a possibility.
Yeah, ideally, if Gomez is even capable of making it through the game, I'd want him to start, because I think in that back four you got Tsimikas, who of course hasn't played a game of English football yet. You got young Nico on the right, and then you've got Koumetio, who I really want to see start. But I think putting him together with Phillips or Van den Berg is a bit of a worry, to be honest with you. I think this young lad is going to be thrown in the deep end a bit. He's never made an appearance for the under-23s yet. He's jumped straight to first team football. He's a really, really exciting centre half. But I think if you put him alongside another inexperienced player, that may cause problems and worries and issues with the back four. And then all of a sudden he's under pressure. You'd get people saying he's not good enough. I think if you're starting that, ideally I want a first team player starting alongside him, because I think it aids his progression. If it was to be one of the two, Phillips or Van der Berg, I'd go for Phillips because he's the more first team player of the two. He's older. He's been around the first team for longer than Van der Berg, and for me, I'd go for him.
I just can't see a world where, with the greatest respect, I can't see a world where Nat Phillips gets involved in this game. He's going out the door.
Bristol, you say that, and I agree, but also he brought him back for one fucking game against Everton and fucked him off again. Yeah. So like, I don't think he has any question marks over Phillips' mental state. Yeah. So he could be absolutely fine.
No, not, and I don't think it's in that regard. I just think
he's so far off the plans.
There's no point. There's more to be gained from a game for Koumetio or Van den Berg than there is ever to be gained from Phillips. It's only whether he just saying categorically Virgil, Gomez and Fabinho aren't playing this game. And again, I think he will have to, because as you say there, it's too fresh a back four to not have someone. I think he'll want a leader in that back four, and any of those three will do it. But I think Gomez has been. We saw it in the Arsenal game. Gomez played the Virgil van Dijk sort of role
alongside Van den Berg.
But he's the commander, he's the leader, he's the cool guy at the back. I think that might be the plan. I would think Phillips, I think, would be at odds with everything we're kind of building towards. You're missing. You're taking an opportunity away from a lad who you might need later in the season. If Phillips is gone, what's the point?
I've said for some time, I think Koumetio is going to be a star in the future. I really do at centre back, and I think you're damaging his progression if you throw him in for the first time in a game like this alongside someone like Phillips and Van den Berg. I think he has to have that leader alongside him for this game.
That being said, though, Sepp Van den Berg didn't look convincing until he played centre half in the Shrewsbury replay alongside Keanu Hoover, and that he looked like we'd signed a real player. But again, it's another League One side.
Agreed, but I think Koumetio is on a different level to Van der Berg. I think in terms of quality centre halves, I see Van der Berg not getting anywhere near our first team in the future. I genuinely think Koumetio could be a big thing in the future, and he's one player that I am really, really excited to see more of. And I don't want to risk Van Dijk. I think it'd be a silly game to get Van Dijk injured in and something like that. But I'd love to see him, coaching Koumetio through that game, and I think it'd be a really good partnership.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, this is the thing. What we're seeing here, Chris, and what the League Cup games ended up being was they were just a training ground for things that we needed later on in the season. We're talking like, do Liverpool have the squad to balance a League Champions League run and have a second string squad? We might find this is kind of the point I was driving at with the centre backs thing. We might need these lads for the first team. So we're actually saying, there'll be a second string side, was Klopp's probably thinking, there's a lot of games, we're going to get a lot of injuries throughout the season. What I want is as many of these lads to be primed and ready as possible. Nico Williams, Curtis Jones being the prime examples of that. They're able to contribute in that restart period because they had the game.
That's the balancing act that Klopp's got, isn't it? You can look at it from both ways almost, because you've got it where you go, yes, you need these lads up to speed, so let's play them alongside one of our senior pros. But when two of your senior three centre-halves are out injured, is that a risk that you're willing to take to just a little bit of progression here? Or do you think this side could be really strong with two younger centre-halves? You've got Milner, you've got Curtis Jones, you've maybe got Naby Keita ahead of them. You've got
potentially Thiago.
Yeah, potentially Thiago. Is that how you're protecting your centre-halves, by playing a really strong midfield? And you go, let's just leave Matip and Gomez. Because I don't know how Klopp's going to look at it, but I can see both sides of the story.
What we do know is that Klopp puts trust in players. So I actually wouldn't be. I don't think he will. I think, as I say, I think he'll put one senior centre half in there just to have a senior centre half in there.
But that just makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that might be changed ever so slightly just by the fitness issues and what have you. If Gomez was fully fit or Matip was fully fit, one of them was definitely starting this game.
100%.
But given the circumstances now, you know, it's probably just as likely to be Fabinho as anything. But as I say, I mean, look at Klopp bringing Curtis Jones in with 25 minutes to go in the Leeds game when the game is quite finely balanced at that point. I think he's happy to. It's not. He doesn't think it like throwing them in at the deep end. He might do in the back of his head, but he certainly doesn't frame it that way to the players. He sees it as, you're good, you're ready, go and have your game, go and play your game, go and do your thing. So you're right, Chris. I could see it quite. It could just as easily be that fall down on more likely to be the senior side. But also, don't anyone.
I agree. I think if the centre-back issues don't exist, injury-wise, it's 100% one of the youngsters with one of the centre-halves. Yeah. And I think that's the only thing that skews it.
Or even if those injuries are there, then maybe you do see that back line, but maybe he protects them with Fabinho and Milner in front of him and plays 4-2-3-1, and then you've got two first-team defensive midfielders sat in front of them just protecting them.
Basically, we're missing Lallana here because he's 6 against Arsenal.
So, right, here's the question then. We know next to nothing about Lincoln, again. You know,
we played them in 1961, I bet.
We did, yeah.
Last. What was the score?
2-0.
2.
Liverpool.
The mighty Reds.
Yeah, I have no idea if that's true. We don't know.
Dad was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
10-year-old,
10 or 11. Depends on whether he was born in 50 or 51. We know nothing about Lincoln. We have no idea what Liverpool's 11 is going to be. So what's the score going to be in this game, Jack?
And also, sorry for wasting your time.
I'm going to go 3-1.
Okay.
3-1.
Yeah. I think, you know, with the side that he's going to put out there, I think you can guarantee goals. So I'm going to say 4-0 to Liverpool.
Interesting. Well, we beat MK Dons 2-0 away from home last season, so I will go with a similar one of them. 2, maybe 3-0. Why not? Why not? Let us know your pointless score predictions based on so limited knowledge of how this game is actually going to line up in the comments underneath. What team would you like to see? What was your preferred 11 in this regard? Let me know that in the comments as well. Yes, and the starting 11 prediction will be coming, so if you've got any advice for Chris...
Oh, shit, it's me.
Then do get involved and help him out with all that in the comments section underneath. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining me. Cannot wait for this game. We're going to be live with the Fan Zone and watch along from 15 minutes before kick-off. The team news always comes out an hour before the game. It's different on cup games, which I've just remembered as I'm saying this out loud. But yeah, we will do a team news reaction show live. Then we will be doing the commentary and the watch along. So yeah, tune in for that on the channel on Thursday, and we shall see you there. Ta-ra.